The gender gap could be one of the deciding factors in who wins the 2024 election. 9 Reporter Briana Fernandez joins us live in studio now to break down these latest numbers. Briana, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jordan. So it's a battle of the sexes at the ballot box, one that could potentially decide the next president. And according to NBC News, the gender gap among voters is bigger than it was in 2016 election and the 2020 election. So here's a breakdown of what that looks like. NBC reporting the latest. They made a report from October 30th to November 2nd showing that men are backing former President Donald Trump by an 18-point margin. You can see that right here on your screen. In other words, 58% of men are supporting Trump to the 40% of women. Meanwhile, women support Vice President Kamala Harris by a 16-point margin. That equals to 57% of women compared to 41% of men. So the latest numbers from Colorado here, from the Colorado Secretary of State, show that women between the ages of 65 and 74 have returned the most ballots so far here in Colorado, around 218,000. And in that same age range for men, that number is nearly 195,000. And you could see that right here. This is the latest that we got at 11:59 on November 3rd. Now, at last check, more than 79 million people nationwide have voted early or voted by mail in the election. So 3 million of those votes were cast in the last 24 hours. Coming up in the next hour, I'm actually going to break down how this election compares to past presidential elections, plus which county in our state casted the most ballots so far. So now I do want to bring in Corey Rhodes because, Corey, gender gap isn't the only factor for this presidential election.
That's right. So let's break down some of those numbers a little bit more. Briana, thank you. Another factor that could help determine the election, especially the presidential race, are the swing states, of course. Currently, there are 7 swing states. You have Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin are known as the Blue Wall states, or a collection of states that voted Democrat in recent presidential elections through 2012. Former President Donald Trump won the Blue Wall states in 2016, but President Biden won the states back in 2020. This is a look at the final NBC poll within each battleground state. Polls show former President Donald Trump has the greatest lead in Arizona, while Vice President Kamala Harris looks to have the lead in Michigan and the other 2 Blue Wall states. The latest polls also show a tight race in Nevada and Pennsylvania, with Harris leading both states.